friends. Hope you're doing well. So, today is Leap Day. It is the day, the extra day of the year. Once every 4 years, we get a bonus day to help us achieve our goals, to try new things, to do weird stuff, to do fun stuff, to do things. It's exciting. There's if you ever watch the show 30 Rock, there is a show, an episode that celebrates the idea of Leap Day, and it's amazing, and it's one of my favorite things. And then a couple years ago, at the last Leap Day, actually, in 2020, it must have been 2020. I photographed a Leap Day wedding. It was based off. This is the most obscure deep cut thing, and I appreciated the hell out of it. And I think it was just kind of kismet. It was that I met the couple through other means. I did some photography for this advertising agency, and one of the graphic designers was getting married, and it was like, hey, do you do wedding photos? And I was like, believe it or not, yes. I like making money, and I like taking pictures. I combine those two things. Anyway, so I didn't. It was on February 29th, and I was like, oh, Leap Day wedding, that's cool. And they're like, oh, it's Leap Day themed. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, have you ever seen the TV show 30 Rock? And I was like, bitch, I love that show. And they're like, do you remember Leap Day William? And I was like, yes. And it was, oh man, it was one of my favorite. There were so many good jokes in the ceremony, and it was so perfect, and it was a great wedding. And they served donuts instead of cake. It was just weird and awesome and fun. It was a good one. And so, yeah, I got lost there, as so often I do on these videos. But Leap Day is awesome, and if you haven't seen it, go search 30 Rock Leap Day episode and watch that episode. It's weird and fun, and if you haven't seen that show at all, watch that show, because it's one of the best TV shows ever made. If you like ensemble comedy, you definitely need to see it. If you like shows like The Office, you will like 30 Rock, and probably Parks and Rec, and probably Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you should watch all of those because they're all excellent. But yeah, so it is Leap Day, and COVID Revenge Week is going pretty well. I've made some pretty good advancement towards my goals, and this week I had 2 maybe jobs that kind of fizzled, and that seems to be happening more and more these days. Is you'll get what's known as a hold, which is where someone calls you and they're like, hey, we have a production. Are you available this day? And you're like, yes. And they're like, cool, put a hold on it for me. And that basically just means if somebody else calls you, call us first, and we'll either confirm the hold or we'll let you go work that other job. And so I had basically 3 days on hold this week, and then as so often happens, it's the day before, they're like, nothing, it's not happening. Which there's a million reasons why things could not happen. A lot of times you'll get put on hold, especially in my situation, is kind of as a backup, or as kind of as an option. So a lot of it, because I do so many things on set, I operate cameras, I do photography, I do sound, I do lighting, and so I kind of am like a Swiss Army knife on a set. And so there's a lot of times where production might need extra help, and so they'll call me, and it's kind of just can you do blah blah blah, and you're like, yeah, sure, whatever, because it's we don't need a photographer. Oftentimes a job, especially these days, is not big enough to require hiring a photographer, hiring a sound guy, hiring a gaffer. But if you got one guy that can come in and do all 3 of those jobs that are all kind of just part-time each thing, and it's usually kind of just to bring on the the swing. That's what they call it anymore. Some people call it the position a swing. You just kind of switch back and forth, which is kind of a nod to theater. In theater, there often are cast members known as swings, where they're like the pedestrian that has like one line in the song, and then like later, they need a different extra, but that has a line or is in the chorus or something like that, and that's called the swing. And they're like Townsperson 1 and Miniature Devil 2, so those are a lot of the jobs I work. And then other times my job will be just kind of like, we might need a photographer, and then like the client, because like an ad agency, will call me, put me on hold, and be like, can you be around for photos? And it's like, yep, cool. And then they'll call and they'll be like, no, the client didn't need photos for this thing, and you're like, cool. And then other times it is like an ad agency or a client, a PR firm, whatever, will call me and they'll put me on a hold, and it'll be like, can you be on hold? Because like a popular one is, there is a Fortune 500 company in Omaha that hires me a lot, and it's like, can you be on hold in case this doesn't happen? We need to get our CEO on camera, and the CEO needs to deliver a message that says like, hey, you fucked up. And like, so like that, in that specific example, it's like, if the government doesn't allow this thing to happen, then we need to get our CEO on camera, and he needs to put out a video press release saying like, this is why the government did wrong. And in that specific instance, the government did the thing the company wanted them to do. And so I got that phone call like at, I don't know, it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. It was right before I was supposed to leave. They're like, it's off, because the government went back on what they said they were going to do. So it's just like, jobs get fizzled. It's just like, oh well, okay. And like, sometimes like the smart thing to do would be like to still charge people, like if you have a hold and they don't break the hold to like the day before, to be like, okay, well, there's a fee for that, and there probably should be, but like also like that's a really quick way to not get called again. And so it's like, it's just part of the business, and you gotta just be like, guess I'm not working today, like that's fun. But so this week I've got all the way off, so I got the next 2 days off, including leap day and then Friday, and then I do have my Sunday job. Still coughing up some, oh god. And then tomorrow, the production company that I started with some friends, we have it's like a phone call, which is like the worst. Like, the thing I hate the most is just like phone calls with like potential clients that are just like exploratory phone calls, where it's like they don't have any work to give us right now, and so you're just like getting on a Zoom call to jerk each other off, basically. Like, it's just like, oh, we really love what you do, and and like, this would be a great fit, and like, these are the things we could do for you, and like, to like, you're just like, okay, this could be an email, like, here's our website, this is work we've done, this is work we're capable of doing, do you have any work like that? You don't? Interesting, call us when you do, here's what we charge. And like, it's like if you just went to Burger King and you wanted to talk to the cashier about their burgers, but you didn't want to actually order a burger. Like, what the fuck is the point? And it's, oh man, I don't know how people that like have office jobs where they're just in meetings all the time, I don't know how they do it. I would jump out of the tallest building I could. If I looked at my week and I had like multiple meetings a day for a week, I would just find the tallest floor and jump off of it. Because it's just like, and I don't know if it's like autism or what is, but my neurospiciness is something up in my brain, just can't handle these meetings. And it's like, they're like decisions, and I don't know, I feel like I'm really good at making decisions, like not necessarily that I always make the right choices, but in that being decisive, I can go this, I can do that very well, very quickly, and I have. most of the time I have rationale for why I'm making those decisions, or I will reverse engineer the rationale based off intuition. But either way, it's just kind of like, this is what we should do. And then it's the thing that's frustrating is like, you're like, here's a meeting, here's a situation, and my initial thought is like, well, it's obvious we should do X. And then you have that discussion, and you're just like, no, we should just do X. And then people are like, well, and then they brainstorm, and it's like, yes, like my answer is not always the best answer, the most optimal answer, but usually it would work or it would be okay. Very rarely I'm ever just like, here's the worst answer possible. And so, not to I don't want to be like, I'm amazing, everyone should just listen to me and things will be over so quickly. But it's just like, if I don't have an answer for what we should do, usually what is brought up first, like the first thing that's brought up is usually like something that you could either be like yes or no. But then you say, you're like, oh, that's not a great idea because of here's why. And then there's just more, like, after it's been like denoted, so I guess the other side of it is like, even when I'm not the one actively like being like, yes, let's do that, or no, that's stupid and I don't really care what happens, there's just like conversation will happen, and then someone will be like, well, that worked because of this, and then the conversation, that idea kind of just still floats after it's been shot down like pretty successfully. And I just don't, it just feels like a giant waste of time, and a lot of times these are like decisions that don't need to be made at all, and they're being made by a committee of people, where it's like, like especially like when you're doing videos and you're like, well, what should the intro say? And like, well, there shouldn't be an intro at all, there shouldn't be a graphic intro, like that. It's a waste of space. If the person in the interview doesn't say what you want them to say, get their ass back here and make them say it. Like, or do a better job interviewing people, or go get somebody to say what you wanted them to say. And then it's just like, okay, well, we're gonna have a graphic explainer. And you're like, okay, great, that sucks. And then you spend an hour like deciding like the exact verbiage of what the graphic explainer should say. And by the end of it, I just, I'm just like, just send me an email for what you want it to say, and I'll type whatever you want. I don't care anymore. And I feel like you get to that point where I just can't sit and just hear it, and I just like, just make a decision and then tell me what you want. I don't care. And I can't imagine doing that like day in, day out, of just like the back and forth on like things that don't matter, especially like, I think part of it also is like in my work is that I know like some of the work I make matters, and I care a lot about that. But then the work that I make that matters, that I care a lot about, almost always have clients that want to micromanage, and like every decision they make makes it worse. And so it's eventually you just like, you have to, as a defense mechanism, turn yourself off and be like, whatever, just decide something and then email me and I will do whatever bad idea you want. And then you have the other side of the coin where you have these jobs that are just advertisements, that are just interruptions in people's day. You're like, nobody wants to see this. We are forcing this upon people. And the clients they don't care. They don't have any opinion. And that when you want them to tell you what to make, they have zero opinion, and you have to come up with all of it. And you just don't care. So it's like the jobs where you really care and you're like, this is really important, this is why I got into this, you get micromanaged into making something that isn't yours. And on the jobs that you don't care about, or you're just there collecting the paycheck, you have to do all the creative heavy lifting to make something that you know is gonna make people angry. They don't want to see the fucking car commercial for the 16th time that hour. You're just like, should we run it down that street or this street? And you're like, it's up to us. Let's run it down both. It'll take less time than trying to decide. So, yeah, there's your vent for the day of why I just do not like. I don't like Zoom calls. They are almost always a waste of time. They almost always could just be emails. And tomorrow's is gonna be like that too. But and the one good thing about Zoom calls is I can edit photos while I'm on Zoom calls, and for whatever reason, being on a Zoom call helps me. I can focus on getting photos run through. So even though I don't care that it doesn't look like I'm paying attention, because most of the time I don't have a lot of input. I'm usually just like, yep, that's great. Okay, cool. I'm just saying yes. Or I'll just hop in and just be like, we should do that because XYZ. Or we should not do that because of XYZ. Then I just spend the rest of the time editing photos, and I can often get a lot of photos done in those Zoom call windows. But luckily I only have to get on Zoom calls like once or twice a month. But I hate it. It's like pulling teeth, and I don't want to do it. But I like streaming. So who knows what that is about. I don't. Anyway, that's it. That's the video for today. I don't like being on Zoom calls. They are painful, and I want to never do them. And so I hope I can figure something out so that I can just say I don't. And I feel like I'm close. I'm close to a point in my career where I think I can, most of the time, if someone was like, you want to hop on a call, I could be like, this isn't going to work. If you need constant video calls, this isn't going to work, because usually the type of work I do is kind of like, give me a shot list and I will go execute it for you. I've been doing this long enough that we don't need to get on a phone call where you tell me how to do event photography, and that, your event is going to be almost identical to the dozen I shot, in the last 2 or 3 months. Like, I don't need anything new and unique. So anyway, it looks like my dog is about to throw up. I can see him pacing back and forth outside the office. So I'm going to go find that, and I'm going to go clean it up. Anyway, I hope you're doing well, and I hope your leap day brings new and exciting adventures for you, or just a chance to crush your goals into the ground, because we're going to, yes, leap day, bonus day to fuck stuff up. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's get it, etc. And let's stay off the Zoom calls today, right? Yeah, no Zoom calls today. It's leap day. There's no Zoom calls on leap day. Anyway, hope you're doing well.